Very well. There we are, live. Shabbat Shalom, my most esteemed friends, honorable judges of this flat earth, LVE tribe, as well as everyone else listening. On this rather precious and cloudy, kind of rainy, it starts raining, stops raining. It's not raining right now, but everything is still cloudy. From California, the US of A. Today is Shabbat the 18th of Adar. It's on its way out, Adar is, of the year 5991 from creation. This belongs to the 11th of March, a date that rather the beast likes a lot. 11 in March and September's also. March 11th of 2023. How incredible how we've been advancing in time. We're almost going to be a year since Judgment in April. It was April 2nd of the year 2022 when we had a judgment, and we're already 11 months from that date. How does time fly so quickly? We shall study Revelation 17, part 21, and we're still calling it Revelation 17 because Revelation 17 has been the first subject that the Eternal Truth has ever given and followed after that. We are understanding that all the prophetic scenes, although they may seem different, although they may seem that one says one thing and then something else will happen otherwise because another chapter says this, because another chapter says another thing, we're understanding that the whole history of the world is being told from different forms, but it's the same one. It's absolutely the very same one. And we'll understand it in this subject as well as in other subjects. Revelation 17, part 21, this is called The Witnesses. Let's see if we can present it in just one subject or if it'll have another part, because this belongs to Revelation chapter 11. Very well. Without any further ado, let us seek our Elohim. Beloved Yahweh, we give you thanks for this so precious day of Shabbat, rainy. We give you thanks because you bless us greatly. We give you thanks because you make us free through comprehending the truth. We give you thanks because we live in the last stage of this earth, which for many of us, it's the best and phenomenal part. We want to see already the closing of this stage. We want to see humans saved, become bettered, that they learn justice, and that's what we're waiting for you in your precious name of Yeshua. Hallelujah. The Lord has blessed with one more year of life the following members of the Eternal Truth: Sebastián Peña, Chile; Ariel Abraham Gutierrez, Guatemala; Miriam del Socorro Lopez González, Mexico, known as Coco; Juan Daniel Díaz, Chica, Colombia; Ofelia Santiago, Mexico; Jorge Eliezer Díaz Quintero, Colombia; Ryan Alexander Cruz Santana, the Dominican Republic; Adrian of Charuk, Argentina. For every one of you, a great big hug from the Eternal Truth, from all its members. May the Lord bless you greatly. Enjoy the congratulations, or congrats rather, and we hope that it is your last birthday under the dominion of Babylon. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we have to be here longer, whatever it might be, in a situation that is like this, that is similar of many other years. Back in 2011, I said, if this is not fulfilled, then I will throw everything into the garbage can. Not this time. This date, whether Yahweh fulfills it or not, nothing will go absolutely into the garbage can. For it is the absolute truth, what it could maybe we didn't understand. Everything is the prophetic time itself, but no more than that. More than that, no. Nothing will go into the garbage. There's nothing, not even the prophetic time. Very well. Angelina's consult of the new Germanic medicine. I want to remind you because we have a free service that's spectacular that is helping lots of people, and I want to remind you so that you can communicate with her. And if you're going through some sort of conflict, it could be emotional or physical, which is precisely the same thing. Write to her, get in touch with her. She's going to give you a turn. She'll listen to you and tell you in what you should change, in what you need to work on, how you should see things so that the conflicts can be solved and they can disappear. How do we do this? Absolutely free. It is a service for LVE as well as for everyone that are not from LVE as well. Any family member that you may have that is not from LVE, that give or take they understand what it's about, what new Germanic medicine is, they can give the information to Angelina so that she can listen to you and give you ideas to solve your conflict. So then this is a part of the ministry, the eternal truth. Also, Angelina commented to me that this week there are people, they want to donate to her, and she on a permanent basis tells me no, it's free. And of course it's absolutely free, but if you want to donate to Angelina so that she can buy more books, to buy her courses, because on a permanent basis she's doing courses, still buys all that she can about information to really get engulfed with it. And this is something that you need to learn every day. And also for her personal expenditure, if you I mean, it's free, but if you wish to make a donation, you can make it through the normal donation means. You have it there, www.theeternaltruth.org donations, or you can consult with us. And if it's for Angelina, you can make a little note. This is for Angelina, and that's perfect. Some people do that, and other people ask. So then, if you want, but of course, if you wish to cooperate with Angelina, you can send it both to Leslie as well as me with the same means that you've always used for donations for the ministry, and we can make it reach her. Very, very much thanks to you. And it's precisely a service that's free, completely free. Very well. The days are still advancing, and also my expectation is growing, whether something visual take place or not. But the world continues to advance in its craziness as well as in its science and all the rest. For example, this week, Brian, which was working in Walmart, and he was working in the money center where the people send money or they receive money. He was working there, and a lady that was sending money to the Philippines, in the midst of the transaction talking to Brian, she fell. Just like that, she fell. But in the suddenness that we're always talking about, without any sign that she couldn't even put her hands in, she just fell instantly, just from speaking to just having the head hit the floor like a watermelon. He says that the sound of the head against the floor was horrible. He was talking there and he saw that suddenness. Incredible. That's the way we are. That's the way we live. That is how the people live. And then they took her. Then the ambulance came and all the rest. And then what came was what apparently is the son that was with her some days later. And Brian asked her if the lady had gotten the scenes of the vacuum cleaner. And she says, yes, but of course. She had gotten the scene of the vacuum cleaners. It's obvious, right? It's obvious. She had received the toxin. Exactly. She had received the toxin. Very well. While April 2nd of the year 2022, last year, we had the judgment, and now we are March 11th. Wow, how does time go so fast? Well, if we're going to be here another year, then let it go quickly. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? If we have to be here, then we'll be here. Very well. Remember that this year we have one more month, so then we shall have Adar 2nd. That's why the 1290 are in the same countdown exactly, and in the year 1290, what starts is the new year, the year 5992. That day is Shabbat. Friday night, it's Shabbat, and that day is when the Jubilee begins, and that is when the 1290 days begin from the abomination that maketh desolate. How incredible! Tell the truth, it is something impressive. That coincidence of feasts, we cannot make them up, they are there. Very well. Shemah Israel, YHWH Eloheinu, YHWH Ekhad. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our Elohim, Yahweh is one, alone, only one being, only one person. It's not a division of three beings, co-eternal, coexistent. It's not a father and a son, that there were two beings and he had a son, or because of a title, doesn't matter. But the father said, go due to the creation that you made, that I ordered you to make, go and die for them. No, no such a thing exists. That would be an awful God that needs blood of his son in order to be able to forgive. So then what it means is that the guy hasn't even the capacity of forgiving. He asks us that we forgive without blood, but he needs the blood of his son to forgive, or else he can't forgive. It's just that when we advance in the Christian theology, we see the craziness that Christianity is. We see where they have gone into and how it has enclosed the mind in laws, in stories, craziness of religion and of religious rites and of beliefs, where the people cannot go out, they cannot be free, they cannot think, and they are being enslaved to all the type of information and beliefs that they have sucked on since they were little, whatever it might be. Now, the eternal truth makes you free. Some people think, maybe because they saw some subjects from before, some think that the eternal truth is a sect that has the people captivated. It, not in the very least, the eternal truth is a place that is absolutely free. The eternal truth teaches you that Yahweh created the world that it live, not to punish it and for it to die. The eternal truth teaches you that people, that we are now in a stage of creation that would last 6 days, in other words, 6,000 years. And then after creation, those who Yahweh designed to be judges, to be kings, that they govern and that they be a just world and happy, they will be those who will be left during the 7th millennium, Shabbat, but the whole rest of the people will live. They will come back to life and to live forever. Will it be difficult for them to learn? That's not even our problem anymore for now, but they will all learn. It's not a punishment per se. Sometimes I may have seen it as a punishment, but the purifying hell is not punishment. It's a correction. It's not prison, but rather it's to correct them, and that will be a pleasure to correct them, because people actually, they act wrong due to the inherited programming from their fathers. We know what is the whole genetic charge, and when I mean genetics, I mean programs, conflicts, and all types of beliefs, cultural ones, religious ones, and all the rest, which are placed and imposed on children when the children are born, and they they grow up, they have to deal with that. So then, it will never be a just God that destroys the people that did not learn to live, that didn't learn to behave when the Creator never showed his face. In other words, if he did 2,000 years ago, not even those that were present noticed because he was under a mask with another body, another name, and to top it off, he never told the truth. He says so. He says, I will speak in parables. That way, when you hear me, you won't understand. Because if you were to understand, I have to save you now. I don't want to now. He says, I'll speak to you in figurative little stories that no one will understand. Now, those that I want you to understand, I will have them understand. Now, the rest won't. That is the Creator we have. Of course, the people, I would never blame the people because they are deceived. Why are we going to blame them? Because they were deceived. When they could, under another creation system, because this is his, and I'm not arguing it, but in another system of creation, there could be a center of truth, guided by the same Creator, and to say, look, things are like this. You can try other methods, but it won't turn out good. So then you'll return, and say, okay, you were right. We like things better like this. So then at that point in time, they'll receive a blessing. When they steal, they'll have another curse on them until they return it. Once they return it, they'll get a blessing. You know how people would learn? Who would want to steal if it brings a visible curse like Pinocchio? He would lie and his nose would grow. Another lie. What if your nose were to grow? You'd have a horrible nose to start. Wouldn't even know where to place it. And the other one is that quickly you would bite your tongue so that you wouldn't even speak. Because we are so used to self-deceiving, and I'm not saying it for me, I'm saying it for you, okay? I want to make that clear. We lie to ourselves and everything. How was your mom? They're going to say, oh, my mom was the greatest thing. She was so great. But actually, when we show you how your mom was, you're going to have to recognize only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. Wow. So then that whole accumulated charge that we have, to my mom also, your mom too, her parents, and all the way up to Adam and Eve. So then when everything, the whole surrounding of humans, there can actually be what the truth is, and they can decide for the truth, then they will decide for the truth. As long as a God comes and they impose worship, no one will want to worship him. What free human being will want to worship a God that says, you have to fear me, I am your God, and I demand that you worship me? We'll come here and say whatever, but in the interior we'll say, what a dog shit God this guy is, really. I have to do it because I fear him, fear of Yahweh. But I wouldn't do it freely, just of my free will. I wouldn't do it because, wow. In order for humans to worship God wholeheartedly, he has to love him. And he has to love him for what he does, not due to fear, due to a punishment. So that anytime there is a pending punishment, if you don't do this, then here comes the punishing. Some of you have written to me, and others comment saying, if you throw the Torah away and the laws, if you say, they're still in their mind, if you say that the laws were annulled, then how do we know what is morality? What a stupid fucking question. How do we know what moral is? What do we know how to do good and evil if we don't have the Bible? The Bible. And if we don't specifically have the Torah, we could know what is good and evil. I also have been in that same situation that the Torah tells me what good and evil is. I'll tell you something. The Bible's morale, both that of the Torah as of the rest, is nauseous. I'll tell it to you because maybe you didn't understand. The Bible, I'll say it even more clear. The morale of the Bible and of the Torah is really dog shit. Let's see if you understood now. Why? Because the biblical morale, put my words on the wall and think about them the whole week. The biblical morale is you have to do what God says, no matter if it's correct or not. Remember what I'm telling you. Never thought that way, but I'm telling it to you. What is the biblical morale? You have to do what Elohim says, whether it's right or wrong. Just ask Abraham. Is it okay to kill his son to satisfy a God? Is that okay? Is it okay to annihilate a whole nation to occupy the land? Because I am the chosen people. Is that fine? To go and kill babies, young men, old men, whether they're pregnant, to open up their, like the Bible says, to open their belly so that the creature also dies. If I find virgin women, I can bring them home. And I can give them to the priest and the leaders of the war. Is that fine? If God says so, that's fine. Now I'll tell you, the biblical morale is dog shit. The morale of the Bible demands things that are against the essence of justice and human morale. Human morale, you know what it is? I'll sum it up real quick. Is not to do unto others, your neighbor, and that's everyone, not the one that believes like you do, of your same race. No. The neighbor is every human being. Not to do unto your neighbor what you don't want to be done unto you. That is what morale is. Do I need the Bible for morale? Absolutely not. If I take the biblical morale, I do what God tells me, no matter if it's right or wrong. I do what God tells me. And that precisely was the evidence in which the test that all humans failed on to do what the Godhead would say, even if it's insane. Even if, that's why I'd say Abraham is a detestable guy. He is not my father, and much less my father of the faith. I'm not a son of Abraham. Abraham was a son of a bitch. That's what Abraham was. He was a son of a bitch. If it's your father, a Christian, or if it's your father, Jewish, shove him up your ass. But he's not my father. He's not my model. He was sold. He was a bad person. Abraham didn't have eggs to confront Yahweh. He didn't have balls. You know what people, I don't know why I even started talking about this when I was talking about witnesses. Abraham accepted something which is a crime. That only, if I start to think about it, I want to vomit. And to hang Abraham and all these sons of bitches. Abraham was given the mark of the beast. We all know who is the beast. It's not Rome. And the beast has a mark. A visible mark. The other one is a mark that's different. But the mark of the beast, I'm going to tell you which it is here. And I hope that this video lasts on YouTube. The mark of the beast is something visible. And it is given at the eighth day. The mark of the beast is circumcision. It is a crime to cut a member or part of a member, a vital member, for humans, especially the male sex, male gender. We do not know the psychological mark. I may not know you. I don't know it. You may know it, or you experienced it and forgot. The pain of a child is so great when he is circumcised. It is the most sensible part of his body, the most sensible one of them all, and it is done without anesthesia, because if you use anesthesia, that is something. It is dangerous for the life of the baby. So then it's done without anesthesia. So then they said, no, the baby doesn't cry a lot. He enters into shock. Many enter into coma. This is what people don't know. The brain is stupefied, and that is why, for that same reason, that we have a whole bunch of people that are stupid because they've been marked by the beast. Marked. That is a real mark of the beast. That little mark is. And the Creator said, whoever's not circumcised cannot enter into my temple, because it's a plan to make a beast. Israel. Well, if I say things, you'll never understand them. Evidently, Israel, the people of Israel, were never the people of God. It was a beast from the very beginning. they were the beast. He tells it to them in their face. You are a generation of serpents. Of course. It's all a plan. Absolutely, it's all a plan. That is why it is difficult to comprehend. But I'll tell you something. Abraham did not oppose, but rather he accepted that mark upon him. And he imposed it unto his children, and his children unto his children, their children to their children, and we get until today's date. And this son of a bitch country, the US of A, do you know that most are circumcised because automatically they circumcise the baby? Wow, automatically they circumcise him. I cannot give you the percentage right now with precision, but it is almost more than 90 or more percentage that they circumcise the baby. Why? Because they made up that it's due to health. It's for health. It's for health. What sons of bitches? It's for health. It is to kill the health. The psychological mark that is left in the baby, we won't know it with precision until we study exactly the nefarious effect that has. Nefarious, brutal, what I'm telling you, brutal. So then, another son of a bitch comes. What's his name? The other son of a bitch. Moses. What did Moses do? That was another tremendous son of a bitch. One more. That got his reward because he didn't enter into the promised land. He says, look, and he killed him. God killed Moses. God killed the author of the Torah. But I applaud him. I applaud God. That's what I should have done before. In order for you to understand, Moses was going towards Egypt with his children. And his children had been saved from circumcision. They had been saved. So then God appeared and he says, if you don't circumcise your children, I'll kill you. And then the angel of God, of Jehovah came. He came to kill them. In the Talmud, it says that the angel was a great serpent. I don't know where they get it. I don't know if they make it up or if it was left for history. Who knows? Whatever. But that if it's a serpent that appeared, I mean, it's fine. That's fine. So then he tells Moses that he was going to kill him. So then Sephora, his wife, came and he circumcised his children there, raw, live and direct, and he placed the foreskin at the feet of the serpent or whatever and says, now you are my husband of blood. We are a matrimony of blood. That right there is an insult. You don't understand it. But then he says, right now, it had to be a sacrifice. Sephora didn't want to do it because it's crazy. What should Moses have done? Do you know that your dog shit tradition ends here? It ends here, your dog shit tradition. If you want, kill me. And if you killed me, that's fine, perfect. You'll be very happy, I'm sure. No, what did Moses do? He circumcised. What Abraham do? Let's kill the son. My only son. Because God asks me. That is the biblical morale. To do what God says, no matter what. No matter if you know that you're doing wrong. God told me that we have to annihilate that people. Let's go, soldiers, and let's go and kill the people. How do you think that such a perfidious race is? I mean, that's the word, perfidious. This is the beast, the manual of the beast. I've always said so. You cannot have a good people with this. It's impossible. It's just like that. It is literally a good people, merciful, that loves all humanity. No. With this, you get a beast. And that's the beast that came out. It's natural. Absolutely natural. That's why in this country, they are circumcised. That is why. And they demonstrate who rules this country, who rules it. So that when Brian was born, I didn't know this, because if I had known, I would have been ready since the beginning. I would have asked for all the forms. I didn't know. And the doctor or the nurse comes and says, hey, let's circumcise your son. I said, what? No, you're not going to circumcise my son. You're crazy. His father is not circumcised and the son either. So what's your problem? No, if you don't want to, Then you have to fill a form and you have to sign it. I had to sign it, and Leslie had to sign it. Yes, of course. And they put a face like an ass. Face like an ass. I said, "Are you sure?" Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to circumcise my son. Yeah, did you have to sign it when we're born? Nothing. They're all circumcised then. Wow. Wow. Poor people. Well, that is a brutal crime. A brutal crime to humanity. And who did it? That people. That dog shit people. Who also get circumcised? The Arabs. Why? Because they have Abraham as their father. Who is the father of the Arabs? Abram. Abram was a son of a bitch. The hero of faith. He was dog shit in all the senses that I can tell you. Complete dog shit the guy was. The guy, they said no, because when God came and he told them that he was gonna destroy the cities there, and his nephew was there, and he tried to intercede, and he says, if there's so many people that are righteous, no, he sort of said, you know what, my nephew's there, take him out first. Tell the truth, you're gonna do wrong if you destroy him. You know, he told him, if there were, what was the last number he gave him? 5. And what did Elohim say? Well, if there's 5, I won't destroy it. Is that what Elohim said? Oh, I don't even want to. Your memory, I tell you. Okay. How many were they in the end of it all? Okay. We're in Bereshit 18, and it says, will you destroy the righteous along with the wicked? See, blah, blah, blah. And then he talked to him and says, maybe you find 40. And then it says, don't let my Lord be upset now. If I were to speak, what if you had 30 there? And he said, behold, I will not destroy it, blah, blah, blah. And then again, it says, let not my Lord be upset at me. If I were to speak only once more, maybe if you found 10. I won't destroy it, he said, due to the love. He said, I will not destroy it due to the love of the 10. And Yahweh left, and then once he stopped speaking with Abraham, it was 10. It was 10. Now, Abraham, what if, well, evidently, there weren't 10. According to Yahweh's norms, we have to check that. We should we'll see what was happening there, because this story is something that we said, let's see what's happening there. If they're as evil as you say, we should check that. That I don't even believe that they were so evil, because they were so evil. I don't even believe those stories. I have to see it. The testimony of Yahweh, I could care less about anymore, because I read the atrocities that he did. If they were all evil, maybe they're all good. We need to check that. That's why Elohim expected for us to not believe him anymore, that we ourselves learn to be judges. That is what the eternal truth makes you free. Free! The eternal truth makes you free. Teaches you to think for yourself. So then, if there were less than 10, Abraham said, well, they're just going to annihilate my nephew. He never asked for, he says, you look, my family's there. Can you take him out of there? Take him out of there, my lineage or whatever. And Yahweh would have told him, and don't destroy Lot. Are you going to destroy Lot? No. He says, well, if the 10 are not there, then fuck them all off. I mean, the people don't see the little details. They don't see the little details. The people don't. But we do see them. And we're already sick and tired of all the stories. David, another son of a bitch. Another one. We're still with sons of bitches. David, the Christians would want to have David as a king. And I'd like to have David at the other side of the flat earth. Without any power. David will never again exercise any power. He already did so. And it was wrong. So then David will be the simplest, the lowest of them all. That was the King David. Yeah, in that time, but no more. Absolutely no more. The son of a bitch was such a sadistic that you don't understand. Saul asked him, I can't remember how many foreskins, 200? And he bought 400. He brought 400. He was so sadistic that maybe he would cut him off before killing the people because he had to bring 200 circumcision foreskin of the Philistines. Why did they do that? One is to laugh at them. One was to laugh at them. Another, to demonstrate their power, their superior power over them, to demonstrate that they were animals and blah, blah, blah. Well, only to gain the daughter of the king. That's what the king asked for, and David said, no, hold on, I'm going to demonstrate that I'm more of a son of a bitch than what he thinks, that I'm more sadistic, more of a murderer, more bloodthirsty than what he thinks. I'll bring 400. Every foreskin, he brought him over. What did they do with that? Just croquettes? I mean, no, hold on. What were they doing it? I mean, the level of sadisticness, we don't know. We read the Bible and says, oh, how pretty, King David. What King David said. I grab what King David said. I'll pass it through a filter. I don't know what you were thinking about, and I'll get what's good. And I'll just retain what is good. But the guy was sadistic. The guy is no good. He should not be a judge. If he were here, we would hate him. How would David look at us? How would he look at us? Well, is going to want to come and look for our foreskin. You have to think of those things. How would he look at us and say, what a son of a bitch? What if I take his foreskin as well as his head? They're all Philistines, they're all Goyim, but the Christians love David when David would never love them, ever. He would never love them. Never would he love them. He loved his Israel. Never another race that has been any more racist than that. The Davidians, those of the Red Sea. Wow, what sons of bitches. And then what the Christianity do? They worship that people, King David, great King David. For me, they can go back to the bitch that bore him, King David. It's a guy that will be saved, but he is despicable. He will have to do lots of good works. He's gonna have to learn so much that they're not any superior being. The only superior being is the man that was to be born and the bride that was to be born on the sixth day. The rest are animals. And I can go on with any other prophet. Okay, I'm not going to go into it because it was not even an intro. It wasn't anything. I was just telling you that eternal truth is not a cult. Makes you free. And I read stupid comments saying, if we don't have the Torah, like a stupid dog shit. If we don't have the Torah, we don't have any morale. The morale of the Torah is dog shit. Because it says, do what God commands you. That is the biblical morale. I know that you've never thought about this. It is not the true morale. The morale is do good things unto human beings. That is what the morale is, not what this teaches. This teaches you to have slaves. This teaches you to mistreat your slaves. This teaches you to kill your slaves. This teaches you that if your bride cheats on you, you have to kill her. What a good morale, right? What a good one. The Torah has that fucking morale. Not just that. If on Saturday you were to transgress it only by raising a little stick, the Torah, the fucking morality of the Torah says that you have to kill him. So then the Torah can go fuck itself with its fucking morale. So then when a stupid, sickly person comes to tell me, nah, we need the Torah, I mean, to know the morale. No, you are the ignorant. The Torah is amoral. I don't even like the word immoral because it means moral inside. It is amoral. The Torah has no morale. The Torah is a complete dog shit. That's what it is. And that, along with the biblical prophets and all the rest. Very well. So then for them to come and tell me that the eternal truth is a cult, wow. I want to make you free. Think for yourselves. You have to think. You have to know how to act. There's no rules here. There's no rules. Absolutely no rules. Can you drink alcohol? You can. If you get drunk, then you lose. You lose. So then what should you do to know how to drink, to know what is right, and until what point is right, and how it becomes bad? Because if I drink 3 gallons of water, I'll die. But water is good. So then you should know what is the measuring of drinking. Wow, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Very well. And everything started with Shemah Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Ekhad. Yeshua said unto his disciples in John 8:31 through 32. Then Yeshua said unto the Jews that had believed on him, if ye were to remain in my word, then ye shall truly be my disciples, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of Elohim to conceal the word, yet it is the honor of the king to search out the word. And I said honor, but it is glory also. Kavod, kavod, glory of Elohim is to conceal the word. There you have it. A concealed God. But of course, I mean, that is the plan. I do not accept that you get upset at Elohim, but rather that you understand that in his plan, he hid himself and he concealed everything. It's all concealed. Why? Because he, in his creation, he wanted for the whole world to learn what injustice and evil was. It is very clear. It is 6,000 years of wickedness. It's like night. First we have night, then day. So then it was 6,000 years of wickedness, of injustice, of a practice of that. So that later, like a little child, so that later to grow and to be an adult and to mature and say, wow, our childhood of 6,000 years have passed, but I have the experience. I have the experience of what it is to do evil and what is right and wrong. That was the necessary experience, and I trust Yahweh that it was absolutely tremendous and necessary, the experience of practicing evil, not just to withstand evil, but practice it, because we all practice evil since we were born. When we're older, we start to say, this is wrong, this is not convenient, this is not convenient to do this. Others continue to practice evil, but someday they'll say, tell the truth, it's not convenient. It wasn't convenient to do so then what should we practice? What is beneficent? What makes you grow as a person? And then he placed a limit. Death. Death is nothing, just like that. Death is nothing. Death is, your experience is wrong. Whether you learned or not, it's same thing. If they're going to learn, so then if there's certain people that he keeps your life because he's already programmed so that you are king. That is what has already been decided. So then those people, he leaves them the time that he believes to be convenient so that they learn. And he places them in the time that is convenient so that they learn even more. So that they may wake up. The rest live their life. They suffer, they are raped, they're abused, never understood a thing. Don't you worry, someday they will. So then, he never saw death, tremendous death. We have learned to see death in a tremendous way, but it isn't so. It's a part of creation. All the dead people will resurrect. All that will resurrect will be transformed, purified, and they will all give glory unto Elohim because they love him, not because they're obligated. There will never be an obligation. There will never be a commandment, and it's a well-set commandment in heaven, not in heaven, well, the new earth, that says you must worship Elohim. No! They're going to worship him because they're going to say, wow, it is an absolute master of creation, a master of good, and how he taught us. They're going to worship him wholeheartedly. Absolutely, they're going to worship him wholeheartedly. That is precisely the end of it all. There won't be a text that says, and thou shalt love Yahweh with all your heart because I command you, with all your life because I command you, with all your soul or else I'll destroy you. There's no need for that, not even to make the children memorize that. There won't be any need because they will all know him and they will all love him, not know him, love him. And love him not by decree, but love him because of what he really is. But now we are submerged in this dog shit. And some wake up from this, others wake up wrong, but I prefer those that said, no, here, the creator is dog shit, I'll never worship him. That's fine. He woke up, well, he woke up to a reality. We wake up in a different way because we are designed to be do another work, absolutely another work. But all men will say, like Jeremiah 16 says, 19 through 21, only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. Only lies. They will say that all the inhabitants that ever lived on this earth. Moses will also say so. Also David, also Abraham. Only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. Only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. Vanity to which there is no avail. If man makes himself gods, then they're not gods. They're not gods, exactly. All the characters of the Bible are practically gods. They are practically gods, and they are the ones that are to be admired. The faith of Abraham, the faith of Abraham is dog shit. The faith of Abraham is not my father. Abraham is the example for me of what I should not do. David is the example for me of what I should not do. Moses is the example for me of what we should never do. To obey God above the morale. Never, ever, absolutely never. When humans learn that, and what I'm teaching you now, you that are judges, once we learn that, then redemption has arrived. We have been learning that. That is why in the judgment, we don't do a judgment of as judges. We're faithful unto God no matter what he tells us. No. I swear to be righteous, faithful, and merciful with men. With God, there's no need to swear any fidelity to God. Absolutely not. I swear to be righteous, good, and merciful with all human beings. That is an oath. Oh, I swear fidelity to God, and God says, go up on the ark and I'll kill everyone. Oh, what? What? Why? The question is, why? Oh, because I consider that they disobey me. Because they don't love me. And since they don't love me, I'm upset and I'll fuck them all up. And now send them all to Babylon. Now, since I want, let's go ahead and cut off the skin that covers the virile member of males so that he loses even up to 90% of sensibility, and that the male orgasm goes down even to 90%. He'll never know what a good orgasm. He will have an orgasm, but not so great. He said, why? Because I want it like this. Because for me, it's purity. Hold on. How did you make man? You're telling me that you made him imperfect? No, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. Because you're telling me that you made him imperfect. Want to start up? No, I didn't make him imperfect. I made him perfect. So then, and now you have to mutilate him. Because it's an idea. These idiots do whatever I say. Either way, they're such idiots. Nobody goes against me. I told them, do it. And that guy that was picking up a stick, kill him. And they killed him. They should have told me, no, hold on, we'll give him, I don't know, a day in prison, I don't know, and tell him, look, don't do it again. Okay, it's not good. No, kill him. And they listen to me. The guy that stole some things, we're stealing altogether. When they say that a thief that steals from another thief has 100 years of forgiveness, but that didn't happen. They were stealing from an entire city that didn't do anything to them. They were living in peace. They were living in Jericho, which is beautiful. They don't tell, they were all evil. They were murderers. But the people of Israel wasn't like that. It was all nice. They were all people, but Jericho was evil. Oh, we'll take over the city, but you see how you're stealing? No. No, it belongs to us. It's the same thing as that he did when he went to Palestine. Once again, right? Let's kill him, everything. I don't want to go into that because then they're going to block everything. Okay. But Jericho, what did Jericho do? Nothing. Did Jericho attack them? Israel was enclosed like this and they self-defense? No. They went to steal. How did Israel learn to steal from Yahweh? How did he learn to loot from Yahweh? How did he learn to kill with Yahweh? And what do we expect now? For him to loot, steal, and kill. Can we blame them? No, no, of course not. That is what they learned. That is what they learned. And they're the heroes from old, not heroes from them, but of the Christians all. If they're your heroes, you're listening to me, oh Joshua or Yeshua says, come on, let's go and take over the city. Let's take over the city. He says, oh no, you know what? I also work here, and it was difficult for me. I'm gonna just keep this for me. So then, human justice says what? If you steal, well, just give it back, and you'll have, I don't know, some sort of penalty, so that you learn not to steal. What does the biblical morale says? What does it say? Your fucking morale of that son of a bitch that wrote to me, just like that of your fucking. Listen, well, your fucking morale. What does it say? Let's kill the guy who stole. Let's kill the wife of the one who stole. Let's kill the children of the one who stole, and the grandchildren of the one who stole. Why? Because God says so. What a son of a bitch. Because he doesn't like you stealing from him. Wow. That is the biblical morale. That's the biblical morale. Should we apply it today? You should be dead. One, because you're a hypocrite. Just to write that, I should cut your fingers off and your tongue and your head off little by little. And your mother and your father, because you're such a hypocrite. If we apply that morale, for me, that morale is the non-morality. I wanted to say the immorality, but of course for us it sounds well, but well. It is nauseous, the biblical morale is. Tell me what a preacher preaches to you what I tell you. No one. And they say, well, no one. Because they all defend what cannot be defended. You cannot defend what cannot be defended. The only form of making a beast, the worst and most accursed people that took over all the earth, is true through this. With this was the beast created. With this was the beast created. Wow. That's the way it is. And if you don't understand what I tell you, then go fuck off. You have to go back to your mother's cunt. In other words, be born again. You have to go where you came from and be born again. And then you'll understand and you'll come begging and saying, wow, once a when I want to hear the words of life. And which are those? What I just told you. It is words of life. If you want people like Palacios, then go ahead. Go with Palacios, with all the messianic, they can't even pronounce their name, the messianic dog shit. They believe in the circumcision. If you do not enter into the covenant, what covenant? A covenant of blood. Wow, brutal. Absolutely brutal. Malachi 2:17, ye have wearied Yahweh with your words, and ye say, in what have we wearied him? In that ye say that whoever doth evil, for example, Israel, they please Yahweh, and in such he delighteth, and he gives them to rule the whole world, gives them signs, and gives them pharmakeia. And he says, oh, how they criticize me so much. Exactly. You made your people Babylon, or else where's the Elohim of justice? Exactly. And we're wearied already. And here is Eddie that has a new flag, like the people, and he's in a protest. He's in a protest against Yahweh, the representation of all of us that protest against Yahweh and saying, hey, it'll be already a year from judgment. Where is the Elohim of justice? Where is he? Invitational text. And I'll tell it to you again like I told you last Shabbat. I'll tell it to you again. I know I kid around when you say you're all a disaster. I like to kid around. That's my way of preaching. I use sarcasm, irony, and fun. It's the best thing on earth if you want to have this truth. But you are the best thing that exists. Just like that, the best thing that exists. No matter if you have half of your brain left and you understand. No matter, you enjoy my words. It's the best thing in the world. Now the rest of the world is dog shit. Like Abraham. If Yahweh were to appear, to any Christian, to any, or even an angel visible like that and says you have to go kill that guy, they go and kill him. They'll kill you. Those are the Christians. Christians cannot even face God. They cannot even face God. They kneel down before God. And I am sick and tired of kneeling before God. I'm tired. He says, no. Here, a new humanity has to be raised. The Son of Man has to be raised. Not somebody that is dragging his body before the Creator. No, absolutely not. The kings, they have to rise up, and I've taught you that. And you learned that, you absorbed it. You come from the same root of Christianity that I come from, and all these people. This whole flock of sheep, I said, we're no more sheep. We're no more sheep. And you say, you're my sheep. No, I'm not the sheep of his. Of course not. I have the title of the slaughtered lamb, but that slaughtered lamb, actually, it's a mask. He says, what is it? Well, no, he's a lion. He just put on a costume. It's a lion. He's a lion. And that to you makes you the best in all the earth. Just like that, of all the earth, no matter if you're ugly. And I'm still playing. No matter what nationality you are. It doesn't matter if you know how to speak or not. No matter if you think that you're not so intelligent like others and you compare yourselves. No matter, none of that matters. No matter your physical problems that you may have. No matter your mental problems that you may have. No matter your traumas that you may have. No matter. Doesn't matter. You're the greatest of them all. The best. The supreme. You have to understand it the way it is. The supreme. The rest, they don't have what you have. The rest don't have what you understand. I could never say, a Christian could never say, Abraham is a son of a bitch. What Christian do you know that could say that? That can only be said, but an LVEite. An LVEite that wants for everyone to be saved. So then if you understand my words, be happy, look at yourself in the mirror and say, wow, I am a king. I am a king because I deserve it. When I joke around with you and you don't know dog shit and you don't know how to answer my questions, no, those are just jokes. You're still the best thing in the world. Don't ever doubt it. You're still the best. And the best of the best that this world has given. You should not have a title. You don't have to be recognized. You're the best of the best because you've understood the eternal truth. The eternal truth makes you actually to discover that you're God. It doesn't make you a God. We are gods. It's just that we thought that we were worms. We're gods. Just like that, I'll repeat it again. We are gods. We've been created in the image and likeness of Elohim, the Creator. It's just that He subjugated us in a world that made us believe that we were worms. Worms, dog shit worms. Worms that would eat and would feed on the worst garbage there is. And compared to God, we were worms. Now, He gives us this message to all who understand that you're the kings of the earth. So then that doesn't matter if you believe that you have a mental capacity or not. It doesn't matter if you're happy now or you're married or a married woman and you haven't found happiness. Everything will seem to you like problematic. You don't have the money that you'd like to have, or you can even survive. I tell it to you now, you are a millionaire. You have to start to believe it today. Not a millionaire. Not a millionaire. The word millionaire is that you have millions. You are of the beings that are the richest beings of the earth because you are the owner of them all. If you don't possess it right now, that's something else. But if the only ones that will possess the earth forever, and to possess it means to be owners of it all, even though if later we'll spread it out later, it means that they're going to admire you, they're going to love you, not out of obligation, because of what you are. Now we don't see it, but to understand what I tell you makes you the best, the supreme saints, as it says in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, the supreme saints. That is the best of all of the history of creation, the best. So then, where do we leave David? In the worst, as the worst. Where do we leave Abraham? In the worst. Where do we leave Moses? Yeah, just like that. He was fighting David, Abraham, to see who has the last place. They're fighting for the last place. And the disciples, they're hand in hand with them. They were hypocrites, all of them hypocrite sons of bitches. We're gonna grab Paul. What about Paul? Paul was a son of a bitch. Why? Well, in every aspect. But since I've said about circumcision, Paul said, if you circumcise in Galatians, it says Christ is no longer good for you. Christ is no good for you. If you circumcise yourselves, you against create the Torah system, and Christ has no profit for you anymore. And I'm not telling it to you by memory, but just textually. You know this text, right? But then he grabbed Timothy and circumcised him. What does that mean? And for Timothy, Christ was no more good. No good anymore. Why? Why did he do it? The son of a bitch. Why did he do it? I mean, I want to hit him in the face, Paul. Why does he do it? Because of the Jews. That's what he said. Textually, due to the Jews. And then he went to the temple of the Jews. He went to sacrifice with the Jews. He says, oh, it's fine, I'm with you. He says, no, I'm not preaching anything. I'm just gathering here with you. These idiots that I tell you about, I come here into the temple to purify myself. But hold on, you son of a bitch. Didn't Christ purify you? No, I come to the temple to make purification rites. What a son of a bitch. Another son of a bitch. Paul, to the end. I don't want any of those. Tell the truth. That's the truth. If you want hypocrites, don't listen to me ever again. If you want hypocrites, then listen to Paul and the pastors, the messianic and the rabbis, but not me. People that want the authentic truth come to listen to me without any anesthesia, because anesthesia has graphene. This is the truth without anesthesia. LVE, the eternal life, the eternal truth, however you want to place it. Actually, I don't want any fucking disciple here. I don't want them here. They were all fake. I mean, wow, they didn't understand any Godhead. They didn't understand Yeshua. They didn't understand dog shit. Do their writings help me? Yeah, they help me. But that no, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them because they're hypocrites. Because they're such hypocrites. Don't have the very least of the doubt that the children of the disciples were circumcised. With that, I say everything. The sons of the disciples, do you think they weren't circumcised? Of course. If Paul circumcised Timothy, who was not his son, just imagine the son of Peter. I mean, they had such a pride for their dog shit religion. Their dog shit religion is, we call it chota in Argentinian. Dog shit religion. They still had that pride. Wow, my temple, my this and that. Wow. The reason why they died, because since the witnesses that we'll study today, they have to die for their faith because they have not understood something else. So then they have to die for their own faith. There is no other way for them. They had to die. Very well. Since, just like John the Baptist, the last thing he says, hey, go ask him if he's the one that we're waiting for. Do we wait for someone else? No, okay, John, we're waiting for another one because they're going to cut your head off, son of a bitch. Exactly. Yeshua would have told Herod, cut his head off. But of course, don't have the least of doubts, okay? No matter if he was the cousin or not. Is it this one? We wait for another. Oh, you said wait for another? You still continued on with your own ministry. And John the Baptist is a hero for the Christians. Say, wow, I was listening to this week, I want to be like John the Baptist. I want to be like John the Baptist. What a son of a bitch. Because it means that you're going to do another ministry aside from Yeshua. That's what it means. Yeshua there and John the Baptist baptizing over here. Wow. Cut his head off. Off with his head and his followers as well. Okay. The witnesses. What does the text says with this so precious picture that Leslie took last week? Wow, it's so snowing. How impressive. What's it say? What does the text say? Revelation 11:3. And I will give unto my two witnesses to prophesy 1,203 days clothed in sackcloth. How pretty. Who are the two witnesses? We're about to see. We're going to study who the two witnesses are. Of course, the explanation I'm going to give you've never heard of, the explanation that I'm going to give, no one has it. Because the whole world read the Bible the best thing they can. I'm saying the best they can, but they don't have the measuring rod. If you don't have the measuring rod, then you're going to get to a certain level, but in what the scripture means, you won't have it. Or that's what the measuring rod is for, or else what's that for? Let's see. Let's go see before beginning. Let's see how many more likes we have. We have 307 watching and 207 likes. Okay, great. Somebody forgot to give us a like. It's time for you to give us a like if you like it. And if you don't like it, it's time for you to fuck off. Because what is it good for you? Listening to some crazy guy insulting your biblical heroes. Christians would be crazy if they met Abraham. Just imagine to know the father of the faith. To know. I mean, one of the characters. There's many characters that I like, but one of the ones that I like the most of the biblical ones is one that was made up. Job. Job never existed. Of course, he never existed. He's one of the best. And the ones that I could tell you, well, there's some that I really like. Noah, I like Noah pretty much. Just a couple complaints that he could have said, no, how are you going to kill humanity? No, I'm not going to go into the ark. Kill them all. You can't kill anybody. But okay, that's fine. It was necessary. I like Noah. Pretty good. And there's other biblical characters that I like, but Daniel, I like Daniel a lot. Tell the truth, Daniel, I have no objections. He worked in Babylon. He wasn't fucking with anybody. He had some balls, enormous ones, even though they cut him off. Maybe they were just symbolically, because the guy, he could care less. He wasn't afraid of the lions or anything. I like Daniel a lot, just like that, a lot. I like Daniel a lot. There's 3 friends, I didn't know them, but I like them. Also, they also had some huge symbolic balls like this, huge balls like this. His friends, Solomon, I could care less about. He said things that are very intelligent, but as a person, he's complete dog shit. To making up pagan temples and all that, wow. What do you do with this intelligence? I mean, I don't care about him and all. What about no king? I could care less about. Josiah, I would have to see the history of Josiah, but then later, kind of like, I could name a couple of characters that I like, but the rest, just like that, just like that, okay. The witnesses. Revelation first, since this is a prophecy that continues without explaining anything, I'm going to read Revelation 10, 1 through 11. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open. And he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried a loud voice as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth for ever and ever, who created heaven, and the things that therein are, and the earth, and the things that therein are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound the trumpet, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go, and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel, and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it, and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And then I took the little book out of the angel's hand, and ate it up. And it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again. It is necessary that thou prophesy once again. Once again, once again. But we already know how it was the first. Once again. So then what was that was sweet? To prophesy. What was it to sweeten the mouth to prophesy? How do you prophesy with the mouth? Because maybe there are prophets that prophesy with their ass. The Messianic, for example, they prophesy with their ass, literally. Ellen G. White, another one, they would prophesy with her ass. But the true prophets, they prophesy with their mouth. So then it says, once again. But it's going to bitter my belly. Says, yeah, that's how Elohim is. Once again. I'm not going to eat it up. Once again. It is necessary that thou prophesy once again before many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings. And immediately, without any interruption, it's a shame that they divided it in chapters without an interruption. It says, and then, immediately that he prophesied once again, they give him something. Notice this is very clear. That he ate the book from Daniel. It's not that he understood it completely. It was bitter. That indicates that he didn't understand it. But many people could have said, so then you understood the book of Daniel in 2011? Yeah, I thought that I had understood it, but of course I thought I had understood, but it was a letdown. It wasn't that. I ate it wrong. It seemed to be sweet, but it was wrong. So then now that you understand it, the little book opened, and it's not just a book, but everything, because I'm about to tell you what. Now the angel hands him over something, an instrument. It says, and then, since he said, I have to prophesy once again, the same person. I could never have been William Miller, the Adventist, because he did not prophesy again. He died without prophesying again, and another team prophesied. How could he fulfill this prophecy? Impossible. And then I was given a reed like unto a measuring rod. He gives a reed like unto a measuring rod. Where did we find it? Well, I'm not going to read to you because it has nothing to do with the fact, but in Ezekiel chapter 40, and on, an angel comes, and he sees Ezekiel. That angel came with a measuring rod. It's the same phrase. So then he started to design and to measure the temple. I know all symbolism, that means something else. But in that chapter, we see that there's an angel that he measures and measures and measures, and this and this and this, and the wall and the altar and all this. Okay. A measuring rod is a rule of measuring, not a rod to strike, but it is to measure. It's like as if to say, he gave me a ruler. Why is he going to receive a ruler? What symbolism does it have of a measuring rod? It is to measure. Symbolically so. It means I'm going to start to measure, really, because I don't have the measuring dimension, so I'll just start. It is to judge. Because I can judge, I'll judge that this is this by that, but I have to actually measure it to issue a true judgment. So then to measure, to judge, if you really reach the mark, it's the same thing. So then what do you do with that measuring rod? First of all, it's not, you don't just judge, but you measure. You learn, which is the true dimension of things, of what things I'm about to tell you. And then I was given a reed like unto a rod. And the angel said unto me, Rise. Why rise? Because he was on the floor with a stomach ache. Just like that on the floor, the angel says, you know what? You have to prophesy again. Once again, look at how the last time it went, you have to do it again. But I'm going to give you something new you didn't have before. I'm going to give you an instrument. The measuring rod. What do I do with this measuring rod? One would find a different authority. Where do I put this measuring rod? He says, no. I'm going to show you what you have to measure with that measuring rod, with this ruler. First, rise up and measure. What do you have to measure? Or at least this announcer that's going to prophesy, he has to do something. It says, measure the temple of God. We're going to measure the temple of God. And then it says, and the altar. And then it says, and them that worship therein. Oh, how do I measure? See, then you see that it's a measuring rod and of judgment. Of measuring and of judgment. No one else has it in the world except for this guy who prophesied something wrong, which he got a stomach ache and was left on the floor. And he thought that it was the truth because he found the little book open, but he never knew that Yahweh is such a deceiver. He says, take it, take it. It's like he baits you. He says, look, I have a little book open. Eat it, eat it. You're going to love it. But why didn't you tell me that what it was going to say it was all lies? It says, doesn't matter. Just eat it. You're going to love it. Then it'll be better. But, it says, now that you're on the floor, I'm going to give you something. Because you have to go back and prophesy once again. You have to prophesy once again. And so then he gives them the measuring rod and he says, rise up from where you are and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein. Very well. This is how far we have reached, and it is really incredible. And now I'm about to explain this. Very well. 302 likes. Impressive. 302 likes. We have 311 people watching. There could be 301,000 watching, but no, we have 300. It's a few people, the great people of the earth. But of course, they are few. The supreme judges, it is few. Those which Yahweh has called to understand these things. Very well. Sometimes people, it's difficult for them to understand and say, no, whatever a ministry that's so small, it should be fake. Well, let's start with small ministries, which were true. Noah. It was 1 plus 7. No one else. The rest, where would you be? You'd be like, it's too small. It's some crazy old guy. Just his family listens to him. Okay? All the rest that said that passed on to history. Another small ministry, Abraham. Another small ministry, Jacob. Another small movement, and this one's very small, okay? Just like this. Yeshua or Yahweh made a person. How many disciples? 12. 12. So what a congregation, 12. He had his Pesach, his last supper with him, with 12. With 12. It couldn't be any smaller than that. Wow, I mean, this is a little bigger, at least. So then, don't ever look down on small movements. Remember Noah. Okay. Most are always wrong. See, I told you like that. Revelation chapter 11. And then I was given a reed like unto a measuring rod. And I was told, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein. Okay, the very same one that eats the book and it bittered his belly, the very same who is commanded to prophesy once again, the same one, the very same, he's given a measuring rod, and he is commanded to measure, which is E equals to understand and judge, to comprehend, to understand the measuring dimensions. It is a continuation that is immediate without any pause whatsoever from chapter 10. That's why he says rise. He says rise is because he was on the floor because of the stomach ache he had. The measuring rod is a key. We can see it like a ruler, a key that opens the secrets. It uncovers coverings. It opens parables. Interprets the prophecies of the scriptures. Many believe they have this capacity of understanding them even more. I would say almost all of them. They think they understand him. They study him. They say the Spirit of Holy Spirit talk to me, but it's not this measuring rod. If everybody has the Holy Spirit, then why is this prophesied precisely this, the measuring rod? Many live and have died thinking they understood the prophecies and never understood them, but of course not. The prophecy says that the measuring rod is given to the very same that was commanded to eat the little book open, which bittered his belly and made him fall into the floor. That's why he says, rise up. And the very same is commanded to prophesy once again. The Adventist Church think that that person was William Miller, but Miller never again or will ever prophesy again. He did not fulfill this consign, nor can he fulfill it. Aside from the fact that he didn't even receive the little book open. Let's start with that. He didn't receive any little book open. Maybe he tried to understand. It's kind of like those people that are moved by the own spirit, trying to understand something, or maybe Yahweh, because that's the way Yahweh is. I mean, to deceive, I mean, he's the best, because it's part of this. So then, he received this wisdom to initiate something that he wanted to be initiated. Now, I want to make something very clear. In other words, no. That's not the word. I want to leave something for you to understand. In order to, when you receive the measuring rod, and that measuring rod opens, it's a key that opens hidden secrets, unsuspected understandings, secrets that are concealed, parables that nobody ever understood, then it means that the one that receives that message, not only do they receive the message, but rather they receive progressively the rod. Because if you, the receiver, does not have that same measuring, you would not understand the message. Let's see if I can make this comprehensible. If I make myself comprehensible, not just a receiver of this message receives a benefit with just the message of the one that has the rod, but also he starts to progressively start to receive the rod. Because if you don't have the rod, if the rod is not given, also at least in a progressive way, parts of the rod per se, you will not understand the message. You can't understand it. You can hear it, but that's not the way it is. You don't have that measuring. I cannot see it. Why can't I see it? Because I don't have the measuring rod. So then when one receives the message, they receive the message, and per se, it's still in code, and you receive something to say, wow, yeah, this is so. If you reject this, you reject the message once and for all. But of course, absolutely, but of course. So then, the rod is being transferred progressively to those that listen. That is why after hearing and accepting many things, you already have part of the rod. You read something else in the Bible and it says, but of course, there it used to say this, and here it says that. There are many rods. The Adventist rod, everything is measured by what Ellen G. White said. So then I received that rod from Ellen G. White, and then through the eyes of Ellen G. White, I measure everything else. And there's no way to see that the beast is not Roman. It's Roman. Fuck off. And the Dominical law is coming, and the mark of the beast is Sunday, and that the seal of God is Saturday, so then they can come. The scenes of the vacuum cleaners, and I go on them one and another, and I don't see anything because I have the measuring rod called the Spirit of Prophecy. The Mormon Church has another measuring rod, which is Joseph Smith. Then every Judaism has another rod, which is called the Talmud. Not even this, because if they had this only, they have this explained. So then it's the Talmud. So then they measure everything with the Talmud. That's why all day they're like this, what the Talmud says. So then they program themselves. So that the measuring rod from the eternal truth is something that is given, not just with the message, but it is given little by little, and you receive it. Maybe you received it, and maybe I don't want to listen to this anymore because I didn't understand it. Just an example, the Son of Man, that I cannot understand it. Cannot understand it means I do not accept the rod with which is being measured, so then I no longer require the rod. And that's how many people left because of shitty paths, like these idiots. They went with what rod? From the Father and the Son. They received that rod, the Father and the Son. So then they see everything with the Father and the Son, and they're faithful to the Son and the Father and all the rest that comes with that. And they cannot advance ever again with the one that has truly the rod. So then the rod is given progressively so to you. So then you can read the Bible and you understand it. When I explain something, you say, but of course, and your mind alone on its own goes to another text, and you how do you say it? No, not conjecture. Concatenating. A word that I never use. Concatenating, in other words, joining this text with this other one because it said this, and then that is what it is to have the rod. If you don't understand, you don't have the rod. When a person says, I don't understand this text, it's because you don't have the rod. With the rod, you have it, then light is open, light is made unto you. So then we, by giving the message, we give the message and the rod at the same time. You receive it. And the one that has the capacity of receiving both things, they understand it. The other one says, no, 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 God cannot do evil because God is all good. Another idiot says, if you don't have the Torah, you have no moral law. How are you going to know what is good and evil? They don't have a measuring rod, you see. Others have the measuring rod, which was given by the Christian common church. So there's a devil and a God, and that God is Trinitarian. That's the measuring rod they have. That's why it's so important, and it is being administered in a proportional manner, the messages. That's why I tell you, you are the best that there is in this whole existence. In this whole flat existence, you're the best because you have received the message with the rod. That's why you understand it. That's why you accept it. First command, he says, measure the temple. Measure the temple. An hour and 30. What are we going to eat today? What are we going to eat today? A meat stew. It's not a broth. It's a meat stew with potatoes. We have to make some rice, right? Oh, the best rice in the world. Leslie makes it. Spectacular. Spectacular. That is what we'll eat. Because I'm already getting hungry. And I said, then they learn too much and they're pulling on the rod way too much. I said, no. I'll just give them a little portion. Just a little portion. Absolutely just a portion. Okay. So then, it says, rise and measure the temple of God. What is it to measure the temple? I'll ask you. Let's see if you have a part of the rod or not. What is it to measure the temple? Very good. Very good. I've taught you this many times. The abomination that makes it desolate is in the temple. The abomination would be placed in the temple. The purification has to be given in the temple. If the purification from Yom Kippur 2018 began in the temple with the new Germanic medicine, then we start to purify and understand to measure the temple. That is really what it is to measure. Never before did we have a fucking idea why we got colds. Just because Ali came here coughing and he fucked us all up. Stop sending the viruses in the air. Ali, please stop. Come with a mask on. Come with a mask on. We didn't have a fucking idea why a crab would be formed. Not an idea. Why do people get a crab? Nothing. Genetics. Your mom gave it to you. And that could be true, but in a different context, another different understanding. But when we start to measure, and first the one who started to measure, and who was that? Dr. Reiki Gearhammer. He gave it to us to understand, you know what, it discovered all of this, how it has produced every conflict in the body. It is difficult to understand. The impact is divided in three parts. It is divided in the psyche, in the brain, and in the organ. And when a problem comes or a conflict, that you live in solitude and it grabbed you with your left foot crossed and you weren't ready for, then a hammer is formed in a literal hammering in the brain is formed that impacts in the organ. And the organ starts, depending on what part of the brain we're talking about, to stop working or to start growing. In the active part, so then he explained the two phases of sicknesses, or of the conflict rather, better said. How is the active part when we get a solution of the conflict and we enter into the part of the solution of the conflict that we didn't have, it's not that easy, it's very difficult, even more difficult, the solution of the conflict, because it comes with an organism included called, it's called an epileptoid crisis, just like an orgasm. Obviously, so then it's not any easier. What's the solution? It's I just solved it. No, that's when it hurts. That's when it starts to hurt. Actually, that's when you solved it. And well, all that we already knew. That is the measuring. How do we solve it? And I won't go into that anymore because I want to last here in YouTube. I want to last a little bit longer. Okay, so then, to measure the temple is to measure the body. Exactly. Who understands that? No one. Absolutely no one. We need a measuring rod, and Yahweh gave us to the eternal truth what the measuring rod is. How many people understand NMG in the world? Not a lot of people. But those who understand it, they have this rod, which is NMG. You understand very well. To measure the temple, NMG, to understand how it works, its conflicts, and the most important thing, its purification. That is what the most important part in primordial. Yahweh gave us that because He made us understand how we start the purification, and also the other part that's so important was to avoid the contamination of the abomination that maketh desolate 19. But of course, so then, with that measuring, we say, since this does not exist, then that you have here, it won't enter. It won't enter because I've understood everything. Since that which I understood that does not exist, it does not generate fear. When the people were fearful of something they didn't see, we would laugh our asses off, literally. And people would be falling, and the Chinese were falling, and the smoke would not end. Everything burning, everything collapsed. The medical system collapsed because there was no space, and stay home. Everybody at home, don't go anywhere. I'm talking already too much. Wash your hands, wash everything. Exactly. Cover your mouth. One, because you're ugly. Another, because you're going to kill everyone with your bad breath. Cover your mouth, and we would just be laughing our asses off. The only way of killing you, laughing your asses off and not be afraid, is to have the measuring rod. The other people, the conspiracy theorists that thought was something produced by the Chinese soup, they were also afraid. Do you understand? The only way of not, the others that didn't believe a lot also were afraid. The only way of not having been afraid of that is to understand how the temple works. If you understand how the temple works, it's like hearing, I don't know, I can't even, that the cows fly and then you're afraid that one will fall on you. So then you have protections and iron umbrellas in case a cow falls on you. You don't see them, but they're flying above and you don't see them. It is so laughable. It's just as laughable for us as that. So then for us, it's not that we didn't believe them. No, we measured the temple. We learned to measure it. And obviously, completely, we rejected their news and their lies. That is why it could not generate any fear in us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nothing, not in the very least doubt, as Leslie says, and I accompanied you, like always. When I talk about me, this is an Ekhad, is Leslie and I, but of course, we accompanied it from the very beginning to say this does not exist, just in case, because people were listening to me that were doubting, and they left. Unfortunately, they left. And what did they not have? The rod. They had not accepted it. And they told me to my face, I don't understand that of NMG. It's not, for me, it's not like that. Yeah, of course. That rod, shove it up your ass. That's what they told me. That is what they told me. So then they rejected the rod, they rejected the message. Because the message, it's still encrypted. You understand, right? In order for you to understand this, you read it and you understand it for yourselves. You have to have something to understand. That is what the rod is. And the rod is being transferred. It's not that we keep it to ourselves and I just conceal it. No, we transfer it. We transfer it to those who accept it, who have ears to understand. So then, to measure the temple, to measure the temple, that is what a prophecy that was completely fulfilled. We measured the temple and we avoided the abomination that maketh desolate 19. How brutal, right? How brutal. I have a sister who has the doses of the cows, and she's dying now. Or at least she is in a very bad situation. The doctor said that she has small chances. If something happens, I'll let you know. But why? Why does that happen? Well, because she lived in an Adventist city. And the Adventists believe that the scene of the vacuum cleaners, they did not receive the measuring of the temple. They didn't receive, which is the body. They didn't receive it. Impressive. It's just as I'm telling you, absolutely. There's no turn of the page. There's no turn of the page. Very well. But it's not just by measuring that. It says now measure the altar. You measure the temple. You measure the altar. What is it to measure the altar? And you can actually see whether it was measured or not, because I can talk a lot about this, just so you understand that this prophecy, since we fulfilled the prophecy of the little book open, that really embittered all of our bellies. Do you see the sequence? It is just millimetrical. After the letdown, we had a period of recuperation, and what has been measured was what? The temple. You see how impressive it is. How impressive. Those who do not understand this, they don't have the measuring rod, they don't see it. And I would not worry about it. But you can see it. You can see it with your own eyes. And after measuring the temple, 1260 days, we issued a judgment. We issued a judgment, just like that. And when is the best then to measure the temple? By starting a day of Yom Kippur. Wow. And Yom Kippur 2018. Wow. Precisely with the necessary time. Precisely necessary. Because if it had been later, until it would be sink in, it takes time to change the beliefs, to remove some and replace them by other one. It's the art of unlearning. It's the art of removing beliefs. It takes a time, a period of time. And Yahweh gave us the minimum that was needed. He didn't explain anything 5 years ago. No, he explained it to us right in the time so that it's very fresh, but with enough time so that it sinks in into our minds. And when the attack came, we're all ready. Those who had to be ready. The others left. They fucked off. Others just fucked off and left. I remember the Mangandi that were, I mentioned them with their last name and everything. They were with us since before 2011. Since 2008, they knew me. It was Bilma who came, and she would tell me, Christian, I see that. It's true because I see it in the screen, the stupid idiot screen that indoctrinates me, that I turn on with the control. I see there the newscast, it's terrible. I understand how you say that it doesn't exist. And then they fucked off and left. Wow. Just like that. Wow. Oh, what are we going to do? That's the way it is. There comes a point in which you don't understand. It says, no, this measuring rod will not enter anymore. I don't want any more rod. Yeah, because you have to accept it. I don't want any more rod. I don't want this. This is not for me. Bye. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. Very well. Good thing that I have the best in this flat earth listening to me. That's good that I have the best of the best, obviously. The best of the best. You are the best. And someday, well, you should see it now, but someday you'll see it with your very own eyes. The greatness that you are. And if it weren't so, you could not listen to me. You could not listen to me. You could not listen to me. Those who can't listen to me, those are the ones that leave. Those are it. You are the greatest of everything, but you have to do with my jokes that you're idiots, that you don't understand anything. This is the best. Are you sure this is the best? Yahweh, what did you send to me? You have to put up with all that. You have to put up and learn and learn. That's how I take out the best of you. So then, what is it? We've already understood what it is to measure the temple, to measure the altar. What is it to measure the altar? Well, the altar has to do with, and we're not talking about the altar of the sacrifice, because maybe some may say, look, the altar of the sacrifice outside. No. Oh, the outside, the patio. No, don't measure that. Leave that. We're talking about the altar of incense. We're talking about that incense that has to do with the perfume and the worship that ascends unto God. That's the second. First, measure the temple. Then is to measure what? The altar. It is the true worship. Wow. Marvelous. Of course, in our altar there were two, the Father and the Son. There were two in the altar. And what is it? Which is it? Which is it? Which is it? The true worship. Because they had given me a measuring rod, but it wasn't the true measuring rod. It's part of the rod that they had to throw away. When I said, if this is not fulfilled, then I'll throw everything into the garbage can. And everything goes into the garbage can. That's true. Everything did go into the garbage can. I didn't understand it. I did say those impulsive words. Then I repented and saying, how did I say that? I had already said that I would throw everything into the garbage can. What I didn't know is that I would literally throw everything into the garbage can. Nothing was left from there. Nothing. Not Ellen G. White, not Torah, not the Bible. The Bible, the worship of the Bible. Not the Ten Commandments either. Nothing. Nothing was left. And the essential part is that we worship two beings. Whom did we worship? The Father and the Son. We understood that the Father had sent his Son who was begotten in heaven. We understood it. Now I would say, how the fuck did that enter my mind? But of course it was necessary to pass on from a Trinity. Because I misunderstood the parable. It was open, but I misunderstood it. It was necessary. And I blame Yahweh. I don't blame myself. It was work. It was a whole path. No, because if I had listened to me, if I were back in that time, I would have heard myself. Maybe I would understand everything. Maybe not. I needed a path. And that path is the best. It's always the best. Like Dar. Dar was marvelous. Dar was marvelous. It was a marvelous experience. And I still recommend it up until today that we had this marvelous work with Leslie. It's just that the videos fucked off into the garbage can along with the channel. But it was what? Oh, in the YouTube channel, it's still. Oh, they're still there. I'm still recommending Dar, because Dar is a pause. Dar is a pause to your daily life. With Dar, you eliminated all kinds of bugs, parasites. You stopped your life. You changed your way of thinking. Then, of course, it was marvelous. Dar was. It was something marvelous for all of us. Absolutely marvelous. All the foods that we made that were raw, you can still include them now. Why not in your diet? There's nothing wrong there. With Dar, we didn't just learn that. We learned what chloride was. We learned what all the silver ones, the colloidal silver, the hepatic cleansing. But we weren't going to cleanse our liver by eating barbecue. Okay, it was not going to cleanse our liver. I didn't get any the ones that you got, that was enough. It was, I don't know, it was You got pieces of meat out. You got crabs out. Things that I would never would want to have seen. You got all a bunch of filthiness that you had, and we weren't going to take that by eating barbecue. We're going to take that out with dar. So then, if they ask you, if you were to ask, was dar necessary? Dar was absolutely necessary. It was marvelous. Dar was. Do I repent of dar? No. I should need 2 or 3 hours. It's kind of like, exactly as Leslie says, it's kind of like changing your routine. And whenever change of your routine, any change of your routine is good. So then that was a time for me that was, I mean, absolutely marvelous. Do I still recommend it? But of course, with the days that you can do it, with the time that you can do it, perfect. It doesn't have to be 60 days. It could be a couple days, and you're going to see how your metabolism changes. And then you go back and eat barbecue and all the rest. Absolutely. And aside from that, we have to test the limits of the extremism. Extremism was to eat raw, and if you ate something that was a little cooked, you would go to hell. So then we have to test the extremes in order to get to what we are now, which is the freest of all the earth, the freest of the whole earth. It's testing. That is the time of measuring. Just like last time I was with this dog shit. And then we're going to learn the new one. Let's see if we don't miss out on a law here. And then we're going to revise this and revise it over and over, because we cannot miss out on any of this. So then we have to test out the limits of the insanity, and we tested them. And now we freed ourselves of all that. Absolutely, entirely so. That is why I declare this once again. The eternal truth is the freest place of all the earth. It's the most merciful of all the earth. It's the place that's really where they make you gods and judges that will rule all this world. But of course, I mean, not even mention it. Don't even mention it. You cannot even hear all these holier than thou types of people that preach the Torah still. Well, I cannot understand it. People today, they were telling me that people that used to listen to me that were from the eternal truth, they told me that there were people that used to be of the eternal truth, or family from people that are sitting here listening to me. They said, now they listen to Pharmakeia Palacios, and they didn't know him. They knew him thanks to you. In other words, thanks to me. That had promoted him, and so they found with Pharmakeia Palacios, they went to that group. I'll promote it even again. Shalom 123, was it? Shalom what? I forgot. If you can write it to Shalom what the fuck? Yeah, James is a fan. Shalom what? Shalom what? Can you write it to me? Shalom what? I'll give you their website and I'll tell it to you. Those of you who want to listen, this son of a bitch that likes the Torah, likes the Pharmakeia, because he is not just, is he a rabbi, he's also a witcher of the white robe. First, Shalom what? Shalom 123. It's Shalom 123. Shalom 132. Okay, Shalom 132. Leave, all of you who want that. He has a different rod, and a different measuring rod. It's the Torah, his measuring rod. It's defective, twisted, and circumcised. Dog shit completely. His measuring rod is dog shit. But go there, which he will inject his poison into you. So then you have other shitty pats like the idiots that left. All of you leave. Fuck off. Now stay here, the best of you. Just the best. Those who here, stay. If you understand what I tell you, stay. But if you want to do rituals and all the rest, then leave. Very well. So then, where were we? Oh, to measuring the altar. What is it to measure the altar? The true worship. After 2011, we noticed when the measuring rod is given to us that we worship whatever. How are we going to worship a father and a son, a begotten son? The son came to earth. the father had him be killed to settle everything fucked off. To measure the altar with the true rod resulted in only one expression that you already know: YHWH Ekhad. YHWH Ekhad. That is the only true worship. And we needed that rod that was given to us so as to understand YHWH Ekhad. Everybody that understands YHWH Ekhad is because they got that measuring rod and made it their own. Everything that you see in Scripture, there's only one Elohim, only one. That has no father or sons. Divine ones, I mean, in heaven, because we're his sons and begotten directly by him. I don't have any problem with that. But before creation, all the rest, he is not a father or a son. Only one being, only one Elohim, only one being. That only being created everything. That one sole being made beings in his own likeness. That sole being came to earth. He changed his name. He took on human flesh upon himself, and he was circumcised. That's great, because otherwise I'd be very upset. For him to feel circumcision, since he was Yahweh, he felt it like no one else. Had 8 days cut. That's great. I mean, I would cut a little bit more so that it hurts a little bit more. I would have been there. Oh, sorry. Because everything you did to, up until today, millions of people hurting. And it doesn't just hurt. You take his whole life away. I mean, if you're circumcised, first of all, I'm sorry for you. That's first of all. Second of all, I'm very sorry for you. And third of all, have faith that you'll recuperate what they took out from you, what they took away. But it is a mutilation for them to cut pectoral, an arm, or the foreskin. Wow. And the trauma that the people go through, we're going to see the quantity that was brutal cause of that. I was seeing in a site the whole psychological damage that it causes from problems in matrimony. I mean, you don't want to know. It's innumerable, the problems that now they're discovering them by saying, hold on. Well, Hammer said it, that a circumcised person is a person that they take out gland that is so important in the body. Absolutely. It's as if then another type of circumcision comes, the vasectomy. Men said, I want to have the vasectomy because I want to have sex without worrying whether I'll get my wife pregnant or the one he's around with. Once again, so then they cut that off. What they don't know is that psychologically, man, when they say, if I can't have children, okay, then that's fine. There's no need for it to even stand up. Then what do you have? Impotence. It didn't come at the beginning, it comes later. Why? Because they made a brutal mistake. That is a blunder. They didn't know. Another mutilation. Women, they tie their tubes. It's another mutilation. Then they have all types of uterine cancer. They don't even know why it comes. They don't have any sexual satisfaction because they're already frustrated from the moment, at least psychologically, they say, they already tried me up. What good am I? Even if you don't think about it, in your way, your conscious way, your subconscious mind is the one that causes the problem. And you're fucked. Absolutely fucked. If they did it, then I'm not criticizing to you. I'm sorry for you. You have to reconstruct all of that. And that of men. Wow, brutal. Just like that, brutal. Not to mention it. Very well. So then, you're all invited to fuck off. To the best place that you like. Because people say, Kirsten washes their brain. Yeah, I wash all that shit that you have. Just like they said, yes, of course I wash the dog shit they have in their brain. Because they come with nothing but dog shit. And most of them was placed by your mom. And then all the religions that you have. So then, yes, of course I wash people's brains. I wash the dog shit away and make you free to think. So that you think on your own and that you're free also to fuck off. Hold on. But if I'm not holding you here. You couldn't be any freer. You hear me once a week and then you can do whatever the fuck you want. How more freer can you be? I don't understand. I am against of making groups. I'm against when they make groups, then factions start, and the factions start, and then the rules start. and then the fighting and the DHSs start. Factions means divisions like that. So then, of course, and aside from that, there's friction. Both things, and there's start friction and the DHSs, but the factions start because a leader starts to interpret what I say. It's like, Christian, what he said, because I've heard it, well, he said this, and they start to give their own ideas. We've seen it the whole time. We don't want groups. Listen, I want free thinkers, authentic, free people. Every time you make a group, you subjugate yourself to another person. I think this and that. No, you're not free. Absolutely free. If you don't understand what I'm saying, it's because you're already a prisoner of yourself and of your own beliefs. The eternal truth makes you free. In a world of slaves, the eternal truth makes you free. That's the way it is. The eternal truth is the way, it's the truth in life. No one goes and nor will ever get unto Elohim if it's not through the eternal truth. It is very, very simple. Why? Because the eternal truth has a large rod. The true one, the only one, was given to him by Elohim. It was given to him by Elohim. And we have the rod. And you can see it, even the rod with which the man-child will rule the nations. He has an iron rod. It's also a rod. It's the same rod per se, because that rod, of measuring rod, becomes in what we are, judges. It makes you kings, and when you least expect it, the rod that you've been receiving to understand became a power, the power that you will exercise upon all the people, that they learn not to subjugate them, but that they learn that iron rod begins with this measuring rod. It's been 2 hours that I've been talking to you. I don't want to make it too long. Then later, Cat can't translate it. He doesn't give me the subject. I still don't have the subject. So then, before looking for excuses, I'm going to name it the Witnesses 1, because I already see that I won't finish it. Let's change it there. The Witnesses 1. Next Shabbat, we'll see Witnesses 2. Very well. So then, we have already got two things. The temple is the body, the way it works, and to purify it and avoid abominations. The second measuring, it says, measure the altar. What is the altar? The true worship, the only true worship there is. Whom do we worship? And we worship him not kneeling, not by pleading. We worship him because we love the Creator, because we're his sons, just like a son worships a father. Who is it? YHWH Ekhad, only one alone. And Shemah Israel, YHWH Eloheinu, YHWH Ekhad. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh your Elohim, Yahweh is only one alone, and that is the only true worship. With all that this means, and when I mean with all that it means is that no Satan exists as a being. That fallen angel does not exist. That fell, he rebelled against God, that wanted to sit in the throne, to place his throne in the heights. No, all that is Israel. All that has to do with the temple of Israel, the people of Israel, and all the rest. So then, when I talk about YHWH Ekhad, it's a concept that's so wide, so simple, yet so wide, that we had to learn to measure it. There's not a Satan, there's not a Lucifer. Yahweh is good and Yahweh is evil. Only one being. That in 6 days he has a plan of creation. He subjugated us to injustice, that we learn justice, that the whole world learn what injustice is and wickedness, so that later they practice justice and kindness. It's all a plan of creation. There's nothing outside of control. The beast is a pet. The beast is his pet. The beast, he guides it. And how did he create it? With this. He organized it with this here. And the sons of bitches like Abraham, Jacob, Moses. With that little gang, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, with that we have the beast, just like that. Just like that. That is what it is to measure the altar. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Yeshua tells them, to the Samaritan woman, look, not in this mount. In other words, your dog should worship Samaritan, not in this mount, nor in that mount. Not in that of Jerusalem, No, there's the temple. No, no. Not the Samaritan worship, nor the Jewish one. He says God actually looks for worshipers, true worshipers. True worshipers. How magnificent is this answer? That they worship what? Spirit in truth. Is it no, but kneeling down with sacrifices? No, no. In spirit and in truth. I'm going to read it to you because I like it. I love it. Not waste time. We're not going to waste time with this. John chapter 5. If I remember correctly, John chapter 5. John chapter 5 says, I wasn't 5, it was 4 then. It was 4? John chapter 4. I was close. I was close. Okay. John chapter 4 says, in number 19, it says, he tells the lady, right? The Samaritan lady, he says, the woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. And I would perceive that he was a little more than a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain. And ye say that in Jerusalem, it says, my parents, Samaritan fathers worshipped in this mountain, but you said in Jerusalem, in the temple, that place where men should worship. He's talking about worship, you see. What does the subject say? Worship, to measure the altar. We're talking about worship. You have your altar in Jerusalem, the temple. So then Yeshua told her, Yahweh, in the flesh, the only one there is, said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh, the hour cometh in the future, mind you. It cometh in the future. The hour cometh 2,000 years afterwards. You're all idiots. You're not going to understand anything, but the hour shall come. It'll come. When? When I form the eternal truth. That is when they start to take out Abraham. When Abraham is no longer the father of the faith. He's a father of all these sons of bitches, but not my father. When they say David, we don't want him as a king. That now we're going to have him as the very last servant. This David. How many foreskins? Well, we want to put him very far away. And aside from that, I'm going to make sure that he goes and places all the foreskins to all the ones he cut off, one by one. And he has to take care of it. He has to put it back on. He has to do a whole bunch of things. It may be a joke, but it wouldn't be wrong, okay? At least go and ask him to forgive him. I cut your foreskin, not just kill you. Forgive me. I'm the most idiot king, the idiot king. Everyone. And to ask him to forgive him. And every one of the Philistines, they have to forgive him. Because as long as they don't forgive him, David is going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait. Do a better job. Yes, that's what it is, the reposition. That is the reposition. And David has to glue and kiss all the parts that he damaged until the client is satisfied. And yes, that would be a good punishment, right? Okay, moving on here. Moving on. Okay. Where am I? Oh, Yeshua speaking. Yeshua said, Woman, believe me. And that woman, are we, it's her, but it's as if he speaks to his bride. Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this manner nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. Wow, magnificent. The Christians want to go to Jerusalem. They want to get baptized in the Jordan River. And they said, this is the sacred land. This is the sacred land. This is the sacred land, Jerusalem. I'm going to show you another land that is desirable. Another one, it's a lot better than that dog shit. Okay, what's it say here? It reads as follows. Believe me, woman, that the hour cometh when neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. How many do we have to worship the Father? It's just that Yeshua was not saying that he was a father. Ye worship, ye what know not. Exactly, a fake worship. The whole world, they worship. We worship what we know. We, said Yeshua, in the Jews, at least the Jews knew that there was only one Elohim. At least they knew that. At least that. They did know that he was Elohim, that he was Yahweh in person, but they worshipped at least Yahweh. We worship what we know. For the salvation comes of the Jews. But of course, why from the Jews? Because Yahweh, salvation, and the curse comes in the beast, and everything comes from the Jews. Everything comes from the Jews. That's what he did. He designed it. This dog shit of the Jews came. Abraham, everything comes. Yet the hour cometh, and now is that he's there, but the hour shall come when the true worshippers, I can almost read the true worshippers, the eternal truth, the true worshippers, the true worshippers, the eternal truth, the true worshippers, the true eternal worshippers, the eternal truth, shall worship the Father. It says, whom are they going to worship? The Father. He's not placing himself there. He's not going to say worship me. They'll worship the Father. But hold on. Don't we have to worship the Father and the Son? Oh no, only one person. He says so. They shall worship the Father in spirit. What does it mean in spirit? Not to kneel down, not to go to a church, not by being a part of a listing of a baptism, that I'm a member of this congregation. No more. No congregation worships the Father. There's not one sole fucking congregation that worship the Father. No one. Truly. Only the eternal truth. Shall they worship the Father in spirit and via internet? Well, I'm just playing, because they're going to gather together in spirit and in truth only. There's going to be a group of worshipers that will worship the Father, only one person, in spirit and in truth. For also the Father, such worshipers that seek to worship him. Exactly. Yahweh looks for that type of worshipers, not people that kneel down and they ask and say, I'm a sinner and it's my fault. I don't know what to do anymore because the devil attacks me. The devil tempts me. The devil subjugates me. The devil goes inside of me. Those types of worshipers, Yahweh does not look for. Yahweh is looking for people that understand everything. Why does it say, God is a spirit? He's still talking, Yeshua speaking. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in eternal truth. It doesn't say eternal truth, same thing though. In spirit and in truth. It is necessary that they worship. So then whatever other adoration that is not in spirit is no good. I'll leave it very clear. It is dog shit. No ritualistic worship is good for anything. Only the worship that you feel in spirit. No worship by obedience to a law is good. Is any good. Worship is in spirit. Without a law, it is in spirit. To know your Elohim and to love your Elohim. And that is your Father, one alone. That is the only true worship. Whatever other thing is no good. So then, with this rod, we have to measure that. To measure the temple, to measure the worship, with everything that it entails. But so then, the eternal truth that preached the little book open, preached about the true worship, but of course, this is a prophecy. It's a prophecy that it goes into every point, into every one of the points. Following point. To measure whom? Wow, this is difficult to measure the worshipers. What we're in the first text, and then a measuring rod was given to me like unto a measuring rod, and said, arise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and those that worship therein. You see how the altar is the worship. Those who are worshiping are before the altar. So then altar means worship. Measure the human body. Measure the worship, whom the fuck they worship, and then measure the worshipers. Wow. To measure the worshipers. How marvelous. That had to be fulfilled. That had to be fulfilled. Here comes a Mason. No, an Amazon. Please see to him, yes, I am a friend. I'm a friend of the Masons. Because he comes every now and then, and a Mason comes, in other words, Amazon, to give me something. Maybe something for Brian, I don't know. Tell That Mason thinks. Very well. To measure the worshippers. What can this mean? Because it's prophecies that have to be fulfilled. They have to be fulfilled to the letter, just as much as measuring the body, just as much as measuring worship. Now you have to worship the worshippers. Wow. How difficult. How do I measure the worshippers? So then, what are they given me? What was given me is a power to judge and measure you. Wow. All of you have to be measured under the rod that was given us. Wow. There's more than that. There's more than that. And I'll tell you what it is. It's 2 hours 14. Yeah, I'll tell it to you what it is. So we advance. What is it to measure the worshippers? The worshippers have been measured. First of all, they were made because there was not one sole worshiper. The day that I turned on the camera, there was no one, and it was Leslie, Angelina, Brian, and my person, no one else, and the dogs, no one else. So then, we made the worshippers out of nothing. The command was to measure the worshippers. So then we have to make them first the worshippers, to teach them, instruct the worshippers. All that is to measure. To make them true worshippers, to make them pass through the experience, some of them, most of them, of the little book open bitter, and some worshippers would leave, others would stay, and others would integrate themselves to all this, and never would we judge what happened to us, because with a lot of pride we said, because we fulfilled the prophecy, how are we going to hide? Because they said, you're the one that preached and it never was fulfilled. Yeah, it was fulfilled, don't you worry. I would be a false prophet. It says so. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely. You are very, 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 very correct in what you say. See, if for me I'm a false prophet, then that's leave. You have nothing to measure. Call me about that sister that I told you in that delicate situation is the one that made a whole form that said Christian Silva, the false prophet, who turned out to be the false one. It was a group, yeah, right, more than a forum. It was a group, but it was so false, the guy was, that he saw what was going to happen, and the true ones, quote unquote, didn't see it come. And they got on like idiots into the scene of the vacuum cleaners. Exactly. What a shame. What a shame. Absolutely, but it is so. That's how things are, unfortunately. Very well. Moving on. What did you want to know? What it is to measure the worshippers? To measure the worshippers, you have to do it first. You have to call them. You have to instruct them. You have to test them. Then, after testing them, then we test them with juices. We have to test them all the time. We have to continue to test them. See who really follows. We have to test them. We have to take Paul out of there, take him to the Torah-size them, then take them, give Paul back to them, take the Torah out to see if they understand what the extremes are and what we must be as judges. But the reward of measuring the worshippers, you know what it is? It is to turn true worshippers and make them judges. That is the goal. And make them understand that they are the Son of Man. That's what it is. So then, what is it to measure the worshippers? Not just to measure them, but judges them, but also to make them understand a group of people and invest them in what was already prophesied, that they would be in the end of the world. The judges that were going to judge Babylon. The judges that will be left standing. The judges that will guide armies to destroy Babylon. All that had to be done, and it had to be fulfilled. That's why the text says. And then, I was given a measuring rod, and I was given rise because you're on the floor like an idiot, holding onto your stomach. I told you it was going to be better. Rise up, measure the temple of God, the altar, and them that worship therein. Wow. So then, the last part of the worshipers is to invest them as judges. Absolutely marvelous. And what does it say? But the court, number two, we advanced into number two. But the court which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall be tread under foot by them for 42 months. This whole language is cryptic, and in other words, symbolic, but not just symbolic. Did you know that this prophecies, the mistake of trying to understand them, like the Adventist Church and other movements, is to try to look for the word, what it means, because the Bible sometimes tells you what a word means, like water, for example, like many things, and then to decode it according to it, and it doesn't work that way. It works to another level because you decode it to at a level of the words, and it is still sealed. The prophecy is. You don't understand what it means. You do not understand it, and it says, "But the court of what I just said." Who has given, not just who has given, but rather who has fulfilled a prophecy so clear as this one, as much as to rise up with a measuring rod and measure the temple. There's no other temple, it's the human body. You already know this. And how is it to measure it, to understand it? The only way to understand it is through the new Germanic medicine. There's no other way of understanding it. It's not through natural things that a doctor told you. No. That's not how you understand the way it works. You could never understand it ever. You could do something and cure this and that, but you could never understand why and how what we call sicknesses happen. You could never understand it. You could never understand it in your mind why a crab is generated. You could never understand why you get a terrible acidity in the stomach. You could never understand it. And you said, "No, I'm drinking too much alcohol." No. It's not alcohol. Something else. You could never understand why your sugar in your blood is elevated. Why? Why is that? Oh, because I inherited from my grandma. You could never understand why your blood pressure elevates so much. Why? With the Germanic medicine, you understand all things. You understand the conflicts which make you shoot all the abnormal levels that are in your body. Before, I've said this once before, many years ago. I wanted to say something that was recorded in my mind. To top it off, I say it, and it's recorded with things that I say. There are certain things that you should put up on the wall, but this was recorded. I said, we depend every day, per se, of the circumstances of not dying immediately, because a level of something fails and we die. We're always balanced. We are compensated the whole time. When we have a decompensation like it's used today, it's discompensated and they die. It was discompensated and they fell off. It was compensated, but it is off that already. So then I said, wow, how lucky are we, all of us, if something fails? Because my pancreas decides to give a little bit more or a little less in substances that could be insulin or other substances that pancreas creates, give a little more, and I get an attack and I die. That's it. Because my body, my nervous system wants to have more blood pressure, and it went up and I die. It's a good thing that it works just at random and everything is fine. That's what I used to think before. Now I see that we're something so marvelous that we ourselves level everything out. The organs don't decide a thing. This brain does, and it's decided by the emotions, and it's decided whether you have or not in your beliefs also, because the DHS has come with the beliefs. It's so complex, this whole marvelous thing. I was watching the last program of the fifth column. An Italian young woman came and said, Ricardo, I went to the dentist last day, and of course I said, I don't want anesthesia, because they all have that dog shit. I don't want anesthesia. And the lady fixed my molar without anesthesia, and I said, wow, I could do many things, but that I don't know. Since I grabbed onto the sides of the chair and cleaned my face and did it without anesthesia, who would do that? Well, this lady girl did without anesthesia, and Ricardo told me, yeah, I went. Of course, since I always go to the checkups, the anesthesia, the doctor said, look, I have all of these, and I chose which one. I looked at it, and then it was clean. So then how smart? You're smart, but we? Of course, it's not that he's smart. He has the means, but of course, you have to be smart. So then he has the advantage of saying, this one, use this one for me. And so then the dentist says, hey, Ricardo, weird things are happening. Last day some guy said that he had an extraction. If not a fixing, an extraction when they take it out without anesthesia. And I tell him, but are you crazy? How am I going to extract the molar without anesthesia? He says, I don't want it. Not graphene or nothing that has that dog shit that's contaminated. Take it out without anesthesia. Wow. I listened to him and I said, wow, you really have to have a couple, such a great bravery, such great. Now, before any other threat, the people got into the scene of the vacuum cleaners so as to not lose a job, so as to be able to go out of their house. In order to be able to cross into another country, to go into a vacation, to enter into a concert, they allowed themselves to be marked. And you see people that have such bravery. They say, how did they tell me those people? That's what I wanted to say. How do you measure those people? They have people that say, take out the molar, take it out without anesthesia, because I don't want that. And others say, I want to go to the concert, to go here and there. What do I have to do? This? I don't want to, but go ahead either way, because, wow. It's so marked a difference in the people. It's so marked that, tell the truth, I am shocked. It's two different animals. It would seem to be a little chihuahua against a lion. Wow. How many of you would allow your molar to be pulled out without anesthesia, without alcohol? As one said, well, I'll just drink this whole fifth of vodka, and then once I'm very drunk, they'll just tie me down. That's how they did in the old days, but without anything. Out of conviction only. Out of conviction. How incredible, right? To top it off, the girl says, it's what's shocking to me. To me, it's shocking. The girl says, and I'm a very believer in God, and I want to tell you something. I know that you don't believe in the Bible or anything, but because Ricardo doubts everything, he says, I want to tell you, I was reading the Revelation, and I noticed that the first seal, which he didn't remember what color it was. Do you remember what color it was? What color is it? Yeah, see, it's a very easy question. White. Who dresses in white? You already know. It's the white robes. That's why it's the white horse. And these white knights, these dog shit knights in white. Which is the little book open, exactly. So then, the white horse represent this institution that dress in white. This religious institution, because it's a religion, but of course, that take out this malign spirits through substances that they inject. So then, these white robe people, these priests of the sickness, represent the white horse. And the girl said, and she says that it had a crown, it says, and I related it, a crown, with a crown. Wow. And I noticed because God talks to me, he was showing me what happened in the cup of wine 19 was the first seal. And she doesn't even know what the word says, that he had a bow, and the word bow is toxin. He was dressed in white, he had a crown with a toxin. Wow, what sons of bitches. And to top it off, the bow to send a toxin to you, a toxin that flies. It flies and it enters into you. The girl didn't even know that, but she started to put and two together because he always starts to call people that will go into this army. But of course, how incredible, right? Absolutely incredible, marvelous. And then afterwards it says, in the second horse, and as Leslie says, yeah, how's Pharmakeia identified? By white? Of course, that's why it's the white horse. Who are the priests that wear in white, the white robe? Then you have the red one. The red one is war. The war started already. That fictitious war or made up or created, doesn't matter. I am convinced that this becomes a war like we've never seen before, and we'll study that later. I'll tell it to you now. What I'm expecting now is war. That's what I'm waiting for. In other words, war is there. I want it to be amplified to everything else. That is what's coming. That's what's coming. And then the other seal that I already believe that it has been opened is that everything is so expensive, or is not everything expensive? Everything went up. I don't know about you, but here it went 2 to 3 times things are. It is incredible what wheat is worth, the eggs. It's just that some people say, well, I'll just pay for them either way. But does it mean but it went up way too much. It has gone up so much, and it's not going to stop. Yesterday, a bank was broke here in California, and the people were all, they're literally demanding their money. And the police had to come, and it's the number 16th bank in the U.S., and they broke. Dog shit. They all went there. Well, what if tomorrow another one comes, and another, and another, and another, the Bank of America, and it all fucks off into hell? And that could happen. I mean, the warnings are coming. The warnings are coming. Very well. So then, it says, the court, which is without the temple, leave it out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread under foot 40 in 2 months. What does this text mean? You know what? I'll tell it to you next Shabbat what this text means. Because already 2 hours and a half in, you don't want to see it. You don't comment. You have no sympathy. I'm not saying about those that comment. Those that comment, I congratulate you. But the rest, maybe they'll be better off if with a little bit of dose, a little bit less rod. A little bit less rod so that you enjoy this because and this is enjoyed little by little actually to understand it. Just enough for you to understand the first text. It's marvelous. Absolutely. How we've been fulfilling that prophecy just right to the letter. And then we have to study this prophecy, and we'll continue to study it starting from next Shabbat and on. So it'll be the witnesses part 2, and then we'll move on to part 2, 3, and then I want to wrap this up. I brought a letter to you that there's no reason to translate because it's in Spanish. I think you know this. Just so that you enjoy it. Obviously, it has nothing to do with the eternal truth. But I like the letter because it's poetry, wild poetry, violent poetry, and it's poetry against the system. I like that anyone who says, like Abraham Lincoln said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That is what happens, just like that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So then all those who are against the system, even if they don't give their opinion, or if we don't understand, nor do they understand, nor do we understand, are my friends. They are my allies, actually, because we have an enemy in common. Well, this subject is freaking, I think you already know this, many of you, because it uses the phrases. Here comes the explosion. It's an Argentinian blend called Bersuit Bergarabat. I don't know if you know it. I don't know if the name rings a bell. It is the Bersuit Bergarabat, but of course, this is from the 86th record, or 97. I can't remember the date, but I had it in a CD because I loved Bersuit. It is called Bersuit Bergarabat, and this is what it says. It's coming, the explosion is. You know it, right? Here comes the blow up. You know it? Here comes the explosion of my guitar, and my kiss would be on my trumpet, of my shofar, of my preaching, of my guitar, of your government. Also, I'll just read it to you. Here comes the explosion. Here comes the explosion of my guitar, of your government also. Here comes the explosion. Here comes the explosion of my guitar, of your government also. And if you have any doubts, come and grab it because it's hard. I told you it's poetry. If you have any doubt, come and grab it. It's hard. If this is not a dictatorship, then what is it? Then what is it? Here comes the explosion. Here comes the explosion of my throat. Now it says from my throat. From your hell also. Oh, it's great. It's spectacular. There is no more doubts. This trash is rotting. Fissure already your dictatorship of the king. It's a fissure already of the dictatorship of the king. I mean, it's great. Spectacular. The evil one has returned. Spring has been short. You miserable pigs, eating what is left of us. They took our night, our only joy. People have balls to get out of this routine. Here comes the explosion. How do I love it? I mean, it was inspired by you because they were saying, here comes the explosion. Here, yes, it's coming. The explosion is coming. I'm going to place it here because I left it here. I'm going to place it, have it just a second here so that you see it. Just copy, copy, copy. Hold on a minute. Just a little bit right here. Copy link, copy link. I'm going to put it on my wall. I know that you've seen it, and then I'll have you read another one that's very good. It's called Lord Collector. Lord Collector. There it is on my timeline and also on Leslie's. Mr. Collector, that one is extremely violent, but I cannot name you. I can't see it. I cannot publish it. Just a second. Hold on. I can't publish anything on your wall, Leslie. It won't let me. I'll see that later, but you can share that. In other words, just share it. Share it. It's good. Mr. Collector, that one is extremely wild. Extremely wild. You want me to read it to you? Should I read the Mr. Collector? It's very wild.
I just wanted to add that when it says come grab it because it's hard, in the song it's because it's about to blow up. It's a comparison.
Exactly. Very good. Leslie explains to you. Come grab it because it's hard.
Because they use it to say that, and yes, that's what it means, but
it doesn't mean something sexual real, but it means come, you're going to grab it and it's going to blow up in your face. For example, we're still adding a little bit more. I mean, she was explaining it, it's an expression of a protest. I understand what I'm saying. It's all a protest, absolutely. And Mr. Collector, which I already put Mr. Collector. I put Mr. Collector, that lyric. I mean, let's see. Let's look it up. Hold on a minute here. Just hold on a moment. I know that it's because it's a letter. These are so old. These songs they're not even up to date. That's what happens. They're not. But I like the form of thinking. I love that way of a protest. I think Mr. Collector. I'm looking for lyrics here. I'm going to read it to you. Reads as follows. Mr. Collector, some are not well written, but are well. It says, okay, I'll start. I go to the kitchen, then to the table. I look at the magazine and the TV. I'll move this way, I'll move that way. Norma Plan was that Norma, that dog shit types of people that already have gone back into history. People of the government of that time. Norma Pla Cavallo. Cavallo was the economy minister when El Corralito came and they shit on all the Argentinians. And they want to do it again. Norma Pla Cavallo, they have to kill him. Why do they come at me with chorizo, but it'll already arrive? Cook Cavallo's mother and his dad, or his children if he's got them, or his friend the president, Grameni, or was De La Rua, Grameni or De La Rua. Don't leave not even his teeth, because Menem wins it over. Let's not talk about stupid shit. They're all drug traffickers. Or else what about the system? Or else what about the system? Or else what about the system? Hear me. Or else what about the system? Don't tell me they live on the money of the poor. That is only good for a few. They do fraud. They sell. It's only a little figure. The guy that is a president. Because if Alfonsín was the president, the one doing fraud is another idiot. Gil in Argentinian. I've already taught you. An idiot. They're all narco traffickers, the bad ones. And if they catch you with a gram, the common consumer, right? They are the traffickers, the big ones. And if they grab you with 1 gram, after they plant it, then the police comes and you go to jail, and that's how the balance goes up. The price also goes up. Also, the vengeance, and now what? And now what? They're all traffickers, drug lords, and the president is the guy that has the people more at peace. Continues on with the laundry of money. As long as the shit doesn't hit the fan in the north are, I'm sure, the U.S., and also something happened in Jujuy back in that time that I can't remember. Jujuy is a province of the north of Argentina, Jujuy. As long as the shit doesn't hit the fan in the north, they won't send an attack. Ay, 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 uy, uy, uy. And what about the little finger they stick in Jujuy? Of course, talking about a finger that they put up the Jujuy. Ay, 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 uy, uy, uy. What do you tell me about the finger that they put up in Jujuy? That is the dog, the Santillan. If they can't turn him around, they're going to want to buy him. Of course, if they can't turn you over, they'll buy you. With their discourses, if it doesn't turn out, they're even capable of giving stocks to the great mercenaries of Babylon. This is all applied, even if it's out of time with what happened in the Cup of Wine 2019. They were all bought, all dog shit. That doesn't matter, no, because the dog does leave another little dog that sticks the little finger into your ass, into the system. You know how it bleeds, and it's not the ass, but the one that bleeds and twists is the great ass of this world. Correct. He got a 10 right there. He got a 10 right there. Because the one that bleeds is the great ass of this world. And the great ass of this world, well, we live in the ass of this world, but the great ass of this world, who makes it bleed? These sons of bitches here. These here. This here, because they are the obedient dog of Yahweh. I'll read that again. It says, that doesn't matter, no, because the dog, yes, it leaves another little dog that sticks the little finger into the system in the ass, and how it bleeds, and it's not the ass, but rather the one who bleeds into it is the great ass of this world. Goodbye to the Stalin wall, but of course, whatever is communism. Goodbye to the Stalin wall, the dog shit Democrats in the fascist sleeves. A sleeve is precisely a condom, just so you know. That's what we call a condom. A forro, a sleeve. But you use it also to denigrate a person, exactly that you are in the middle of something, you're dog shit. That's what a sleeve is, and you get in the middle of where you shouldn't be, just like a condom. That's what it is to be a sleeve. If an Argentinian calls you a sleeve, a forro, it's more than culero in Spanish, which is a jackass, even more than, even stronger. You're a forro, you're a slave. So then what does this guy say of the slaves? Okay, I lost it. It says that dog shit Democrats, the fascist sleeves, They're all drug lords. They are all drug lords. They're all drug lords and traffickants. They transmit through chains. They are from chaos and they paranoia. They are after you if you're gay. They're after if you're poor. They're after if you smoke, you buy, sell, look for por toto. That must be a type of drug that I can't remember. Smoke, eat, sell, or buy. All of you go back to your mother's cunt. And now what? What do we have left? An election, a re-election. For me, it's all the same shit. You sons of bitches in the Congress, sons of bitches in the pink one. It's like the White House here, but it's in Argentina. We call it pink. Don't ask me why. It says, you sons of bitches in the pink one. And in all the ministries, they're all falling sons of bitches that shit on you. Yes, yes. Hold on, the Bersuit. Hold on, the Bersuit. And I love this part. In the jungle, shots are heard. Those are the weapons of the poor, the screams of the Latin people. Shots are heard. They're the weapons of the poor and the yells of the Latin American people. In the jungle, we hear shots. Those are the weapons of the poor. It's the screams of the Latin people. In the jungle, we hear shots. It's the weapons of the poor. It is the screams of the Latin people. Yes, Latinos, they have the power and they will lose it. They have the power and they will lose it. They will lose it. They have the power and they will lose it. They have the power and they will lose it. In the jungle, shots are heard. It's the weapons of the poor. It's the yells of the Latin people. You hear shots. It's the weapons of the poor. It's the yells of the Latin people. Latin, and that's how it ends. I love it. And it says, they have the power and they will lose it. They have the power and they will lose it. Exactly. It's a song, Mr. Collector. Mr. Collector, it's like the sons of Elohim. And they're going to collect from the system. They have the power and they will lose it. Here comes the explosion. Here comes the explosion. With that I gave you these two lyrics that there's no need to translate them, but just an interpretation. May Yeshua bless you greatly. We shall meet again next Shabbat, and we'll continue in interpreting this so impressive a prophecy as the days go on and we get near unto the Jubilee. Without any further ado, let's wrap up with a word of prayer. Beloved Yahweh, we give you thanks because you inspire us with all the things that you give us that not even the Christians or the religious people could ever see with inspiration. Even the lyrics of rock you have written to inspire your children, to show that you have leader children that worship you in spirit and in truth. Thank you for teaching us what the temple is, in order that we may comprehend it, measure it, understand it, and avoid the abomination that the whole world, without knowing, without understanding, receives. We give you thanks because you have taught us what worship is, that you're one alone, and you're looking for true worshipers. We give you thanks because you have created, have called, and have made us judges. Those are the true worshipers. We give you thanks because you fulfilled these prophecies that are so clear, but only those that have the measuring rod can see it. In your precious name, we desire that these be the last days of Babylon, for the explosion of the sons of Elohim is coming. In your precious name, Yahweh, Alleluia. Semper Fi to every one of you. Crowned with glory we live. An applause to the sons of Elohim. I believe that this is the only ministry that has ever existed that after reading a lyric from Bersut, the Bersut Bergarabat, they make a prayer. And they end up with a presentation prophetically with the Bersuit. I don't know. The Bersuit. I said it with the Bersuit. As you say, the Bersuit Bergarabat. The Bersuit Bergarabat. No one has ever heard of that group? Well, it's time for you to start listening to better music. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Alleluia. Long live the bride Argentum of Elohim. Alleluia to every one of you. Here it comes soon the explosion does. Alleluia.